In this video, we will talk about the name boundary tool in order to create detail sheets like your typical sections, your title sheet, quantity sheets, and other miscellaneous sheets that may get created for your project. In order to get to the name boundary tool, one way is we can go underneath the Open Roads modeling workflow, go to drawing production, and we can get to the name boundary tool here. Or we could go to the drawing workflow and we can go to the view tab and we can get to the name boundary tool here. The only problem with launching it from this area right here is whenever you do that, you're going to notice that it does load up the tool, but the only issue is it takes on the active attributes that you have here at the top, so you'd have to set these to what we would like them to be. Well, in order to get around that, let me go ahead and close out the tool, is we have it set up underneath the MoDOT CAD detailing standards. And if you go underneath the design, if you're doing roadway plans, you can go to the name boundary tool here, and we have the 4 different options depending on what type of sheets that you're cutting. And if you select it from here, not only is it going to load up the tool, it also loads up the proper attributes for that. So that would be the suggested way to do that. That way everything's loaded up correctly. And of course, for those of you that are in Bridge, you would just go to the Bridge tab right here, go to the name boundary, and select it from here. It would set up the attributes for a bridge sheet. So I will go back to Design, and of course we have that detail sheet opened up. Now, the first thing that we'd want to do is we want to check right here to see which drawing boundary that we're using. Of course, if you're doing roadway plans for design, you would use this one. If you're in bridge, you'd use this one. Second thing is the name of it. This is going to be the name of the named boundary whenever you place it. And you'll see that here in a little bit in the actual name boundary manager. That's going to be the name of it. This name right here will not be the name of the sheet model or drawing model that gets created down the road. Next thing that you have to do is give it the scale that you want. Of course, if you're in bridge, you'd want to use one of these scales. If you're in design, you'd want to use one of these scales down here at the bottom. So if I select a different one, you'll notice that the scale, of course, gets quite a bit bigger because it's a 50 scale sheet. Or if it's a 100 scale sheet, it just keeps getting bigger. This one here is going to be a 5 scale sheet, so I'll leave it set to that. Last thing that I'm going to look at for this example here is I'm going to uncheck this create drawing. If I do have this checked, what it will do is actually go into the next dialog box and try to create my sheet model and my drawing model. But I don't want to do that for this example because I want to show you where the actual named boundary gets created, and then we can also go in here and move this named boundary if need be before we cut our drawing model and our sheet model. So we will go ahead and leave that unchecked. So if I'm ready to place it, I'm just going to go ahead and left click to place that name boundary out here, and I can always come back in here and move it before I cut my drawing model and my sheet model. So now that I have it placed, now I can come in here and move this name boundary, or I can move this geometry to the location that I want. Either way is fine. So let me go ahead and go back to my drawing model, and to make this easy right here, I'm just going to go ahead and move this name boundary to this point for the exact location of where I want it. Of course, I could move the geometry if I needed to also. So I'll just use my move tool, and I moved it to that exact location. Let me go ahead and do a fit view. So I have my name boundary placed. Now what I will do is go to I could go to the drawing workflow. I could go to the Open Roads modeling workflow. I could also go to the Open Roads drawing production workflow. Either one is fine, but what I want to get to is this name boundary tool right here. And instead of actually selecting the name boundary, I'm going to select this little icon right here, which actually brings up the manager. And you'll notice inside of here that we have some different options: plan, profile, cross sections, or other. For the type of sheet that we cut, it's going to be placed underneath this other groups. So if I expand that out, you'll see that my typical section 1 is right there. Now, in order to create that into a drawing model and a sheet model that has the border around it, which that's going to be contained in the sheet model, what I can do is click on this box right here that says show the drawing dialog, and that's what we want because we need to change a couple things. If we select that named boundary, I can go ahead and right click over it, and there's an option that says create drawing. Now inside of here, there's only a couple things that we need to change. One thing that we want to look at is the name, and this will be the name of the drawing model and sheet model that gets created. Now this is important because later on, if you utilize the sheet indexing, you kind of want your sheets in your drawing models to be named accordingly. So like if this is typical section 1, I'd probably leave it as that. Or if it's typical section number 2, it would need to be that. So, and you can always go in there and rename it if you needed to, but just to kind of keep that in mind. The other thing that we want to look at is right here is our drawing model. We want to change that scale to match what our drawing boundary is. So I will go here and change that to 1 inch equals 5 foot. And of course down here it's set to 1 inch equals 5 foot. And that should be the only ones that we really need to look at. So like I said, inside of this dialog box, look and see what the name of it is. That way it's named properly. That way if you do use the sheet index down the road, the sheet is named properly. Make sure this scale is set correct, and also this scale right here. So once we have that, we can go ahead and click on OK. And what it will do is go through there and create a drawing model and a sheet model. And anything contained inside the drawing model or the default model is going to get reflected inside of this sheet model. So if I come back in here, now I go back to the default model, you see everything's inside of here. If I go to the drawing model, you'll see all that information is contained inside of there. And of course, this one right here, your sheet model, basically just has everything that's contained inside the drawing model and the default model inside of this sheet model. Your sheet model is basically a byproduct of what's contained inside of your default model and your drawing model. There's really no need to place any geometry inside of your sheet model, and it will not be supported also. The only information that you would need to fill out is your information for your title block, and that's it. So if I go back to the default model, if I add stuff inside of here, it's going to reflect back to the sheet model. Same thing if I add stuff to the drawing model. Now the way Bentley has this set up, just for your information, is inside of the default model, this is set up to where all your planned graphic stuff would go into normally. So your line work, hatching, stuff like that, that particular information would normally go into your default model. And then in your drawing model, inside of here is where you'd place notes, dimensions, a graphic scale, anything that really doesn't go inside of your default model, that's what goes inside of your drawing model normally. And then of course, like I said before, the sheet model is just a byproduct of your drawing model and your default model. Now for these type of sheets that we're cutting, you can place everything underneath the default model and don't worry about the drawing model. You could do that for these types of sheets. So that's the basics of using the name boundary tool for detail sheets for like typical sections, title sheets, and other miscellaneous sheets that you need to create for your plans.